Okay. So, okay. So I think you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to thanks everyone for joining the session. Thank you, Sudhir, for joining the session. Sudhir is one of our MuleSoft ambassador. So thanks, Sudhir, for joining the session.
Thank you, Zaki.
Yeah. So we start. Okay. So guys, welcome to Surat MuleSoft Meetup 55. So this is our 55th meetup, and the topic for today's is like overview of Anypoint MQ. So we will going to see complete capability provided by Anypoint MQ. Okay. So first we'll start with safe harbor statement. Both speaker and host organizing this meetup in the individual capacity. We are not representing our organization here. This presentation is strictly for the learning purpose only. Organizer and the presenter do not hold any responsibility whether the same solution will work for your business requirement. And the presentation is not meant for any promotional activity. So generally, we will of this particular meetup to the YouTube within 24 hours. So you can go to the Surat MuleSoft meetup and you can find this particular recording. You can ask the question at any time. So try to make a session as interactive. And at the end, we are always expecting the feedback from you so we can do better in our next MuleSoft meetups. So organizers, I will just skip my introduction. So basically myself one of the organizers. Nitish, like, would you like to introduce or just you want to also skip?
Yeah, we can skip this, Jackie, and we can continue with the session.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just as the speaker for today's meetup is again myself only. So I will just again skip the introduction without wasting time. I will just come to agenda. So introduction already done. We will discuss about what is Anypoint MQ, what are queues, what are exchange, what are FIPO queues. We will talk about multicasting and broadcasting. We will talk about circuit breaker pattern. We will talk about dead letter queue, zero message loss, reliability pattern, intelligent routing. We will talk about Anypoint MQ connector. We will talk about acknowledgement mode basically. Okay. So these are the topic we will going to discuss in today's session, and everything will be discussed with a demonstration. Okay, so let me start. What is Anypoint MQ? So guys, are you ready for the session? So hope everybody can hear me loud and clear. Everybody can see my screen, right? So just
Yes.
okay. So so basically, Anypoint MQ is the managed service provided by MuleSoft. Like, it's a messaging service provided by the MuleSoft, and it is completely or fully integrated with your Anypoint platform. It's a managed service. Like, you don't have to like procure the infrastructure for it. Like, you don't have to worry about the scalability. You don't have to worry about the disaster recovery. You don't have to worry about the fault tolerance. You don't have to worry about the resiliency basically of the platform. So everything will be taken care by the MuleSoft. It's a completely a managed service, right? So you are only responsible for creating the queues, topic, not topic queues, FIPO queues, and exchange basically. So like you are only responsible for the creating the queues and all those things. The backend infrastructure, like scalability, everything will be taken care by the MuleSoft. Generally, Anypoint MQ is a multi-tenant service. It's a fully a cloud-based service, right? And it is completely integrated with your Anypoint platform. It can perform the advanced asynchronous as well as real-time messaging such as a queuing, public subscribe with the fully cloud-hosted queues and the exchanges. So basically, with Anypoint MQ, you can achieve asynchronous kind of messaging. You can achieve real-time kind of messaging, right? It also support a publish subscribe model where publisher will publish the message to the queue, and the subscriber will read the message from the queue. It also support a pattern like broadcasting, so you make use of the exchange. With exchange, you can bind a multiple queues. Just send the message to the exchange. The exchange will route the message to all the binded queue, right? And also exchange provides some kind of intelligent routing. So we also call this pattern as a content based routing. So depending on the user properties and depending on the header, Exchange can route the request to the particular queue basically. So you have like 3 or 4 queue binded with the Exchange. So if consider like if the country is US, you have to route the message to Q1. If a country is India, you have to route a message to Q2. So such kind of things can be done in the Anypoint MQ. We will going to see with a demonstration. It is just a small introduction now. So what are the Anypoint MQ capabilities and the features? As I mentioned, Anypoint MQ is a high available, its reliability and disaster recovery. So basically what happened? So when Anypoint MQ is deployed across the multiple availability zone, right? So within one region, there are minimum like 2 to 3 availability zone. In most of the cases, there are 3 availability zone. In case if one of the availability zone goes down, you have another availability zone which will take care, like which will ensure that your service is up and running. In case the second availability zone goes down, you have a third availability zone which will ensure that the service is up and running. During that process, during the switching process, you will never lose any messages. Like it will automatically take care, like the message which came in the availability zone 1, right, can be processed by the availability zone 2 basically, right? In case all the 3 availability zone goes down, then your service is down basically. It means your region is completely down, right? And then your Anypoint MQ service is the completely down. So at least what is the requirement? At least minimum 1 availability zone should be up for your Anypoint MQ service to be up and running, right? Then it comes to security. Definitely it provide the security at a motion as well as the security at a rest, right? So it support TLS 1.2. And also there is a possibility you can just if you want to store the message in queue to Exchange or FIPO queue, it support the encryption also. It support AES 256 GCM for encrypting the messages. And for like at a transport layer, at a motion, it uses TLS 1.2. Okay, client app. So whenever you want to access a queue, Exchange or like FIPO queue, you can create a client application. That client application will give a client ID and the client secret. So that client ID and the client secret can be used for the authorization, right? So if anybody want to connect with your Anypoint MQ, so you have to that the person should have a client ID and the client secret, right? Region. So currently Anypoint MQ operates in the multiple region across the world: North America, Europe, Asia Pacific. Payload. So currently Anypoint support only 10 MB of the payload, right? It doesn't support if the payload size is greater than 10 MB, it will not going to accept that particular message basically, right? The supported format are XML, JSON, CSV, HTML, and the plain text. So let's consider, suppose you are trying to send the image to Anypoint MQ. So what you have to do? So first you have to convert that into string, then only you can send it basically. Otherwise, not possible. It's just support this particular format. Okay. Any question? All right. So now I will talk about Anypoint connector, Anypoint MQ connector. So MuleSoft provide out of box Anypoint MQ connector which perform a multiple operations. So publish. With publish operation, you can publish the message to queue, Exchange or FIPO queue, right? Subscribe. So subscribe basically it is a kind of listener which will always listen to queue and it will try to subscribe the message from FIPO queue or queue basically. Consume. If you want to consume the message in the middle of the flow, right, you can use the consume operation. Acknowledgement and neck. These are the two very important. Like when you want to implement a reliability pattern, right, you can make use of this ACK and neck operation basically. Like in case of like, let's consider there is something called acknowledgement mode. So there are 3 kind of acknowledgement mode supported. One is immediate, manual, and I think one is auto. In case of manual, you have to send the acknowledgement manually, where you are saying like we have processed the message successfully, so the message can be removed from in-flight messages basically. In case if you are sending the neck, right, it means the message will be not deleted from your queue basically. It will exist till we don't send a successful acknowledgement. Okay, we will going to see with the demonstration. Okay, So there are three type of acknowledgement mode: immediate, auto, and the manual. In immediate, what happen, as soon as we pick the message from the queue, we will send the acknowledgement. Like, we don't have to send any manual acknowledgement. It will automatically send the acknowledgement. But the problem in immediate is like problem in immediate is that even in case the message failed, right, that the message will be deleted from your queue. Like, you will not able to see the message in flight state. It will send the immediate response, doesn't matter message is processed successfully or not, basically, right? So that is the immediate. Sometimes what happened, like, you pick the message, you just have to say, remove the message from the queue, basically, right? Correct. So it doesn't matter like whether message get processed or not. So there might be such scenarios. In auto, in auto mode, like auto is default acknowledgement mode. In this, it automatically send acknowledgement ack when message is processed successfully. It automatically send nack when message is not processed successfully, right? So that is where the auto useful. And manual, I mentioned, like, you can just call the operation call ack and nack. In case of exception, it will call nack. In case of successful processing, it will call ack, basically, right? So these are the three modes. We will going to see the demonstration on these three modes. Okay. Now, so Anypoint MQ support queues, FIPO queues, and the exchange, basically. So there is a standard queues, basically, right? So it's simple normal queues, like, so we have some normal queues, like where but in normal queue doesn't guarantee the order of message processing, basically. It can process the message in any order, like, and it is the fastest approach, basically, the standard queue, as compared to FIPO. In standard queue, it allow like around 120,000 messages in flight per queue, basically. So basically, initially when you send the message, it will be in queue. When it is ready to process, it will come in flight. So what is in flight? In flight is the state in which message in the queue has been picked up and is waiting to be the process, or it will remain in flight until the acknowledgement or response timeout occur. So basically what happened, let's consider some listener or some consumer has picked the message, right, and it is processing. So that message will be in flight till we don't send ack, right? In case if we send the nack, the message will stay in flight. Once we send the message ack, the message will be deleted from in flight, basically, right? So now the question should arise, like, if somebody has picked the message, basically, right? So in such cases, the other person will try to pick the message from in flight again? No. So that message will be locked for particular period of the time, basically. Okay, we can set that locking period. Once somebody have read the message will get locked. It is waiting for response. If we are not getting the response, the timeout will occur, and the message will, like, again ready to reprocess, basically. Okay. FIPO. So what is FIPO? In FIPO, it will always guarantee the message order. So it's a first in, first out. It will always ensure the message get processed in the sequential order, basically. But the issue with FIPO queue, it only allow 10 messages in flight per queue. Right now, I am come to dead letter queue. So you can create a dead letter queue for the FIPO queue as well as for the standard queue. In case, like, if there's some error occur, like for 2-3 times for same message, right? Like, consider, like, you can set up some kind of threshold. If that particular message got failed for 3 times, right, then this message can be moved to the dead letter queue. Correct. So in this way, we will not going to lose the message. We at least find the message in dead letter queue, right? So such kind of capability is inbuilt. Like, you don't have to write any code or any kind of logic. It will be automatically taken care. Like, you just have to allocate dead letter queue to the standard queue and the FIPO queue, right? So these are the different queues. And other thing come exchange. Exchange is nothing. Exchange can be binded to up to 450 queues, basically. So whatever message you send to the exchange, it will broadcast or it will multicast to all the binded queue, right? In case if you are defining the intelligent routing for the exchange, you can bind only 10 queues, basically, not more than 10 queues. In case if you are not defining intelligent routing, you can bind up to 450 queues. In case if you are defining intelligent routing, then you can bind only 10 queues, basically, right? Any question?
Yes, Jackie, we have one. Yeah, the
Okay,
latest one.
Gaurav. Yeah, Gaurav, IBM MQ, I don't know about much about the IBM MQ, right? But I will talk about the Anypoint MQ. So one of the advantage with the Anypoint MQ, like it's a completely a managed service basically. Like we don't have to worry about the scalability. We don't have to worry about high availability. We don't have to worry about disaster recovery. We don't have to worry about the underlying hardware scalability, those kind of things needs it will be automatically taken care by the MuleSoft, right? I will come on all this intelligent binding with an example basically. So don't worry about it. It's not intelligent binding; it's intelligent routing, right? Apart from that, Gaurav, or like I already talked, it's a completely managed service, right? And apart from that, it support various integration pattern directly, like content based routing, right? That's a one integration pattern. Then the second, it support zero message loss pattern, dead letter queue pattern, circuit breaker pattern, right? So circuit breaker pattern, we will going to discuss about that also, circuit breaker pattern. So there are various pattern it is directly supported with with writing a minimal code. Even we don't have to write a code also, we just with doing minimal configuration we can achieve all this. Immediate mode send acknowledgement as a hack in successful. It is always, see, in immediate mode it doesn't wait for message to process. As soon as message receive, it will send the acknowledgement. Okay, it doesn't wait for message to be processed basically, right? So it will be always a successful response in immediate mode. There is a no such condition. It can keep as any number of messages. I will come on all this thing, right? How to push back the message from? No, you cannot. You don't have such facility, right? You may have to define some kind of process basically. See, Rajiv, why you want to push a message to from main queue to dead letter queue? Because it is continuous giving the error, right? The message might be having some issues basically, right?
No, so Jitu, let's say, for example, the issues are resolved. Okay. So in that
Yeah.
case, how do we push back message to the main queue?
Then you define the process, right? So basically then you have to define other process which reading the message from that letter queue, right? And you define and that is pushing the message to the standard or main queue basically.
So means
That you have,
no native.
no
Okay,
no
we have to do it manually, sort of.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
you see any kind of message broker, right? So where you have to, when you push the message to the dead letter, you have to process it manually basically. You don't have any process from you see, like that's a simple example why we push the message to dead letter. Otherwise we can log the message for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So in such cases, why don't you use the circuit breaker pattern, so if you see the system has the backend system is down, and that's why the message is failing, right? And you can use the circuit breaker pattern. The circuit breaker pattern will ensure that it doesn't process the message till the end systems come up basically. I will going to discuss that part also, Rajiv.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, like Sudhir mentioned, right? So basically generally it may happen at least once or twice, I don't know. But I mean, the all availability zone never goes down. Distance between one availability zone to other availability zone is around, it's more than 300 miles basically, around 300 miles, right? So yeah, let's consider if something disaster happen in across the complete region, right? In such cases it may go down, right? But you never know. It happened, like it, I'm not saying it never happened. I think it happens once or twice, where our availability zone goes down, but it generally doesn't happen. It's 99.99999% what, yeah. So before I move to the circuit breaker pattern, let's start with some kind of demonstration. Okay, let me close this. So this is my Anypoint platform, and if you see here on Anypoint platform on in this particular table, so here I have something called MQ, right? So here we have something called destination. I just using my sandbox, right? And here you have a regions basically. So in which region you have to create a Anypoint MQ, you can select that particular region. Okay, okay, you can select that particular region. I will just go in create in the default region, and here this is the plus sign, right? And you have three options: either create queue, exchange, or FIPO. I will go with the queue, and I will just say demo queue. Okay, And here you can say like set up the message detail, time to leave. So basically, if message stay in the in-flight for 7 days, then it will be deleted basically, or in the queue for 7 days, it will be deleted. So it will if default acknowledgement time is 2 minutes, if the particular queue, like this is something kind of locking period also, the message will get locked for 2 minutes, right? And if it doesn't get an acknowledgement, it will get timeout basically. And if you want to assign some default delivery delay, so basically what happens once you push the message to queue, and if you want to process that message after 2 minutes, so you can just simply select a delivery delay. Then encryption, if you want to do some kind of encryption, if you want to store the message in the encrypted form, right, in your queues, so you can use the encryption basically. You can avoid that also. It may add some kind of latency. You can assign the dead letter queue. So if you want, just select this dead letter queue, but I will not do right now. I will just create a queue. So I have created a demo queue basically. Okay, got it? So I have created a small demo queue. Now I have to create a client app basically. So I will create one client app, demo app. I will just say save changes. So here I have got a client app ID and the client secret. So now I have to push some messages. Let me open the Postman also. I will directly not push. I might be having something. Yeah, I have it. I will just minimize it. Now what I will do, I will go to Anypoint Studio and I have a connect Anypoint MQ. It has something called ACK, consume, NAC, publisher, and subscriber. Right. The first thing I will just drag and drop HTTP listener. Okay. I have a configuration. I will just say test. Simple. Like here you can see the config is the HTTP 8081 port. Okay. Let me delete this. Now I have to push the message to Anypoint MQ. So what operation I will use? I will going to use the publish operation. Simple. I will do the connector configuration. Here, like you have to provide the URL. So basically, this is the URL. Like you have to select the proper region, MQ US East 1. So you can, if you go there to your destination, see these are the region basically, US East 1, US East 2, US West 1, like that. So you just have to change. Currently I've created in US East 1, so I'll just say MQ hyphen US East 1. The rest of the URL will remain same. You don't have to do anything. Now client app ID. So I just created a client app ID. I will just copy. I will just paste it. I will just do text connection. Okay, it's successful. I will say okay. Okay. So now destination, you have to provide queue or the exchange name here. So my queue name is demo queue, right? It's demo queue. I will just provide a demo queue. Okay. So I just want to publish some kind of demo queue. I want to publish a message to this particular demo queue. I will just save it. Okay, and I will just run it. Let's see. Yeah, we will going to see everything, like I think I will going to discuss everything related to Anypoint MQ, like what are the things you can achieve with Anypoint MQ, like with examples. Okay, the application has been deployed. I will just I will just publish the message. So I have a postman. I just want to dismiss. Yeah, I have simple this HTTP, localhost 8081 and /test. I will just send the message. Yeah, it posted. I cannot see any error. Let me go to my Anypoint MQ and let me just browse it. You can see one message, right? You can see it, right? So now we have published the messages. I want to add some user properties here, like correlation ID. Sometime I want to do end-to-end tracing, right? How can I add the correlation ID here? So let me do that. This is very good how we can add the user property or headers. So I will just say set variable. Whenever the request come from HTTP, you have something called like you receive the correlation ID. So I will just type correlation. Just say control space. Yeah, this is the correlation ID. This is the default correlation ID coming via HTTP request. Then I will set correlation ID. Okay, that I will copy, or simply I will say v correlation ID because this is the variable name. I can go to publish. Okay, let me add this plus sign. I will simply I will say correlation ID, the correlation ID, right? Simple. So what I will do, I will like for safety purpose, I will just clear this. I will just clear the queue. You can see this particular message is still in queue, right? Because it has not been picked by anyone. Still it's waiting. I will just purge the messages for now, right? So now there is a no message. Okay, so here I added the correlation ID. I will save all. Okay, and I will simply post the message again. It is successful. Let me go to queue, message browser. So here you can see, and now you can see the correlation ID has been populated. So this is how you can add the user properties also. This is something called a custom properties. You can definitely add. You can also add the headers also. Okay. Okay. So now next thing, you got it right. So what we have done, we have published the message and we have just add the user properties. Now I will try to consume the message. So for that I can use the Anypoint MQ consume listener subscriber, right? I just want to give I think it's demo queue, I forget it. I will just use demo queue, right? And here I will use the prefetch, and there's other option polling. So like you can do the polling or you can use the prefetch. In prefetch, what happen? It will bring at least a 30 message into the local memory and it will start processing basically, right? In case of polling, it depend it will ping the Anypoint MQ every 10 second, every 1 second it will face the 10 messages basically, right? So I will prefer prefetch options, and here acknowledgement mode I will go with the auto for now. Later we will see what is immediate and what is manual. So go with this particular option right now, and I will just use the pre-page, and I will just use the logger here. Payload. I will just save it. So we will going to see like how to send ACK, how to send NACK. So just going step by step. Let me push few more messages. See, it start reading the messages, right? And I think there should be no messages in flight. Yeah, right. So there is no messages in flight, and everything has been cleared, right? So it has, at least I pushed 3-4 messages, and you can see everything has been read now, right? Now what I will do, I will try to introduce errors. Okay, so let me introduce error. I will use HTTP request here, and I will just send the request to some dummy URL which doesn't exist at all, right? 8091 test. Let me save it. I think no, I think you cannot. Okay, the application has been deployed. Let me send one message. I send it. It should throw me the error, and you should see one message in flight. Basically, it should be like that only. You can see the one message in flight basically, right? Because we have used the acknowledgement mode is equals to auto. In auto, it will always send the successful, or it will send the successful acknowledgement. But in case if it is not able to send the acknowledgement, it will send a neck basically, where it is saying like, the message has been failed. So it will stay in flight basically, right? So that's the one thing. Now let me change this to the immediate. What happened with immediate? Let's see. Save all. Or also what I will do, I will purge the messages. Okay. Let me send messages. Sorry. The message has been read. There should be connectivity error. Let's see if message is in flight or not. See what happened? Even there is an error. The message is not in flight. In immediate mode, you will just pick, you just pick the message and forget. It's kind of fire and forget kind of approach. Doesn't matter what happened to your message basically. Now we will see the third thing. In third thing, what I will do, I will use auto manual, and here I will introduce some kind of error handling framework. So I will say on error propagate. And if you want to see this subscriber what are the properties given by this particular subscriber, I think it's in output. You can see it gives like act token. So under attribute it gives app token, like contain, delivery contain, properties, headers, all those things. If you want to read properties like correlation ID, right? So you can simply, it's very easy to read, which we have given in first message basically, right? So you can simply say attributes dot properties dot correlation ID. Simple, right? This is how you can read the user property. Now I want to send a neck, right? So I will simply say neck. So basically, whenever you pick the subscribe the message, it generate a act token. So whenever you send the response, you have to send the response on same act token. So Anypoint MQ knows the response is coming for that particular message. So I will just send act token. So you can read the act token like attributes dot act, or simply say attributes dot act token. Simple. This is my neck. Okay, I've done one mistake here. Sorry. On error propagate. No, I have done right. Neck. So I will say attributes dot act token. Okay, this is done. Then also I will send act. At the end of request, I can say act. I will say attributes dot act token. This is just save it. Console. Okay, no message. Let me send one message. I've sent a few messages, right? And it went to on error propagate and it is giving the HTTP error. Let me check whether the message is in flight. What happened? Why? Yeah, you can see the message is still in flight, right? They haven't removed from the in flight. You can see because it will pick and it will just, you can see then the flow, it will just keep running basically, right? This is keep running basically. So you can see the number in flight, it's keep increasing, keep decreasing basically. You can see it 3 now, right? Let me just stop the flow so it doesn't keep on reading. I want to show you something else. So here you can see like I have read this correlation ID which I have sent via publishing the message, right? So you can read that also. Now what we have done, we have just seen like how we can use the different acknowledgement mode. Any question? Do you have any question? No, act token have a value automatically basically when we pick the message right from the queue. So value, value automatically populated to that particular field. I will come on this person. This is the good question. Then I have a demo for that also. Okay, so don't worry. And generally, what happens when you consume the message, right? When you subscribe the message, right, from the queue, the act token is generated basically for that particular messages. So whenever you want to act, want to send the act, right, you have to always send the act token. So Anypoint MQ knows by using that act token that the response is for that particular message. Even when you are sending the NAC, right, Anypoint MQ should know the NAC is for which message, right? So they are using the act token. Got it? This is, we are not generating act token. Okay, so now we will see one other approach. Okay, now I will show one X example also. So I will just save all. So I just removed that particular error from here. Let me run the application. See, now it is reading the messages, right? And I think there should be no messages in flight because we are sending the successful act. Yeah, it will goes. Don't worry, it will go. At 00. Okay. So you can see how we can send the manual acknowledgement and an act. Now I will create, we will talk about dead letter queue. Okay. So I will create one queue. You have to create the queue, right? Same way. So I will simply say queue, DLQ demo. Okay. and I will say create queue. I will go to demo queue. I will go to the settings and I will say dead letter queue, and you can, and when you want the message into dead letter queue, I will say if it's failed for 3 times, then it can become to dead letter queue basically. Okay. So here what I'm doing, I created one dead letter queue. Just a standard queue only. You just consider that as a dead letter queue. You don't have to do any special setting, but you have to do the setting in the queue where from where you have to send the failure messages to the dead letter queue. So you can just assign the dead letter queue, and you can just assign, and you can say like up to how many times the message will fail and it comes to dead letter queue. I will just say 3. Save changes, right? And in the code I will just introduce some kind of error. So what kind of error I will introduce here? Again, I will use HTTP request. Okay, I will just give a dummy URL. So previously what happened when we are not assigned the dead letter queue, right? The message keep processing, right? You can say it is speaking the message, it keep processing the same message again and again, even there is a error, right? So here you can set some kind of logic, like if the error comes for the 3 times for the same messages, right? You can move it to dead letter queue. So now what I will do, I will post one message, even I will post 2 messages. Let's see. Yeah, it happened for 6 times because we have a we have a 2 messages, right? 2 into 3, it's 6 times. So now see the dead letter queue. The first we will see the demo queue. How many? There's a 0 messages, right? In dead letter queue there's a 2 messages, right? So that is how you can implement this dead letter queue. But there can be other thing you can implement, a circuit breaker pattern, which is also a very useful pattern. Before I move into demo, let me explain the circuit breaker pattern. So basically, if you see the circuit breaker pattern is it's a software design pattern, and like it is also used for REST API, right? And it is now also can be used for the event-driven architecture. So generally, what happens? There can be some temporary failure, like your end system might be down due to the maintenance or any other issues, right? In such cases, you can enable a circuit breaker pattern. Generally, a circuit breaker pattern have a 3-state open. So in open state, basically the subscriber will stop consuming the message from MQ until trip timeout occur, right? So subscriber move from close to open state when the error count is greater than equal to error threshold. So generally we have an open state. In open state, the subscriber will never going to fetch any messages, never going to consume any messages. It stop listening to the messages basically till a trip timeout occur, right? The closed state, the state where the subscriber is reading the messages basically, right? It's keep reading the message and it is keep processing the messages. So when the person will move from the closed to the open state, when the error count is greater than equal to error threshold. So let's consider if you have defined the error count 3, and if that particular message got timeout or failed for the 3 times, right? So in such case, the circuit will come into the open state. Right now, you have defined a trip timeout. Let's consider you have defined a trip timeout of 2 minutes. Then it can move to the open, to the half open in after 2 minutes, and it will check whether the backend systems come up. It will try to process a single message, right? If the single message got failed, it will again goes to the open state. If that particular single message got success, it will go to the closed state. It will start processing the message again. So there can be 2 situations. From half open, it can go back to the open, or it can go to the close. From close, it will always come to open. From open, we can go to the half open. Okay. So that is the circuit breaker pattern. So let me explain how we can implement the circuit breaker pattern here. Right. So for now, I will just remove this dead letter queue. You can keep it, no issue, but let me remove it so I can show the better demo. I will just save changes. if there's any messages here. No, right? Now what I will do, you go to subscriber. I think go to subscriber. I think it's in advance. Yeah. Under circuit breaker pattern, you can go to global reference, not global reference, edit inline. Right? On what error you have to define this circuit breaker pattern? HTTP connectivity. More error, maybe HTTP. What I can say, not found or bad request. Maybe you can have a multiple error. For now, I will just go with HTTP. Error threshold. So how many error threshold? 3. So trip timeout 2. Basically 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I will give 2 minutes. Okay. I will give a 2 minutes. Simply I will just relate with this particular diagram. So what I've given, if you want to go to open and half open, right? So you need to you can go after 2 minutes. Once it come into the open state. From open to half open, it can go after 2 minutes, right? And again, if there's a single message failure, it will go back to the open state. And we have defined the error threshold also, right? Which is 3. Right? Now, that's it. You just, it's a simple configuration you have to do. If you want to add more, and currently it will just catch the error of type HTTP connectivity. If any other error coming, it will not going to count. Okay. It will just HTTP connectivity. So for now, let me check request. Yeah, that's fine. And even I can remove this ACK on error propagate. You can keep it, but I just keeping the simple thing I will just say auto. I'm just keeping some default settings. Let me run it again. So let me send few messages. 1, 2. See, now it's stopped, right? Now it has been stopped, I think. Yeah. After 3 failures, it got stopped, right? So wait for 2 minutes. It will try to check 1 messages. Now it has been stopped, right? It is not picking any message. You can see 1, 2, and 3 errors. After 3 errors, just got stopped. Now you will see after 2 minutes, it will try to go from open. Now the circuit is open, right? From close, it moves to the open state. Why? Because the error count is greater than equal to 3. Now error count become 3. 3 is greater than equal to 3. Now it comes to open. After 2 minutes, it will try to come into half open. It will pick 1 message basically. You will see it. Till that, we can check the queue also. We have 6 messages in queue, 1 in flight. So let's wait. It should wait for 30 more seconds.
So Jitendra, one question meanwhile.
Yeah.
So you are saying that, okay, 3 consecutive errors and then it moves to open state. So my
Yeah.
question is whether these 3 errors should be of same type or any 3 errors consecutive?
No, it should be of same type. Okay. So if you want to capture multiple error, you have to put a comma separated there. Like if you are putting 2 different type of error in comma separated, right? Then it will consider 2 errors basically. If you are putting 1 error, so it should get 3 continuous same errors basically, right? If you are putting 3 comma separated different error, then any 3 continuous error is fine. See, now it's went to the hub open. Now again it's seen the error, it moved to the open state, right? Right. So in case if this was the successful response, it will move to the closed state. Simple, So that is a demonstration on this circuit breaker pattern. I will So let me see what is next. So multicasting and broadcasting basically. So we have exchange. So you can publish the message to the exchange. Then exchange can write the message to Q1, Q2, and Q3. So you don't have to create a 3 flows basically in the Anypoint Studio. You can simply publish the message to Exchange, the message from Exchange automatically route the message to all the binded queue. You can bind up to 450 queues, right? And each consumer can read the messages from the queue. So there might be possibility in e-commerce when you place the order, right? You may have to send a message to the payment queue. You may have to send the message to the inventory for checking the inventory, right? You may have to send the message to the shipping also, right? So in such cases, you can use you can simply send the message to the Exchange. From Exchange it can broadcast to the all the queues binded to it, right? And as I mentioned, if you are not defining the intelligent rule, you can have a 450 queues binded to the Exchange. Otherwise you can bind up to 10 queues only if you are defining the intelligent rule. So let me show the demonstration on that also. So I will create an Exchange. Before creating the Exchange, I have to create few queues basically. I will say Q1. I will say Q2. Q3. Okay. Now what I will do, I will just say I'm creating Exchange. I will say demo Exchange. And I can select all 3 queue, Q1, Q2, Q3. Save changes. Okay. So here you can see the add rules or all those things. Right now I'm not adding any rule. So I will just say Q1, Q2, Q3. Okay. So now what I have to do for publishing, I will just remove this subscriber. I don't want to subscribe anything. For publishing, I will just change the destination to demo Exchange. Okay, I will just save it. Okay, so let me publish the message. Send. This is done. Let me verify. In Q1, I have a one message. In Q2, I have a one message. In Q3, I have a one message, right? You can see the same message has been broadcasted to all the queue. Now I have a condition like status equals to active, right? And what I will do, just I'm deleting these queues for now. You got it, right? So we are talking about intelligent rule now. So I will create 2 more queues. I will say active queue, create queue. I will say inactive queue. Right? Then I can go to demo Exchange and I can bind inactive and active queue. Bind selected queue, right? Then I can add rule. So I will say property name, maybe what I will say, a property name status. I will say its type of string equal to. You have a different like any op, none op, exists. So you can define that also. So I will just say property name is active. Simple. So whatever, if any status is active, right? So that message should come to this particular queue. I will say add rule. Here again, I will say add rule. Again, status string equal to inactive. I will just give simple add rule. Now I have to pass this into the property, right? Because right now, if I see in input, I am coming this as a status in my body, right? So, but I want in user property, what I can do while publishing, there's a publishing operation. I can go to this code. I can simply say status is equals to payload dot status. Simple, right? Let's see what happens. I've never tried this. I'm just trying for first time. Hopefully this will work. I've done this status active. Then inactive. I will send 2 messages for inactive. Let's see. I never tried this, but let's see. Inactive queue. Yeah, there are 2 messages in inactive queue. Inactive, there should be 1 message. Let me check the content also. Yeah, for inactive, like you can see the inactive, status inactive, right? And let me check the active also. So you can see the status active, like, so that is how you can set up the intelligent routing basically, right? And also you like, so basically it support user property and headers basically at 2 places. You like, you can send this particular type kind of attributes basically, right? So this is how, what are the things you can do with the exchange basically. So exchange supports something kind of content based routing, or we can call this as a intelligent routing, right? But when you are enabling the intelligent routing, it will not allow you to bind more than 10 queues, right? Otherwise you can bind up to 450 queues, right? Now I will not go with the demonstration of FIPO. FIPO is only, you have to do, you can do everything with the FIPO what you are doing with a standard queue. But FIPO, only the thing with the FIPO, right? So it will like, it will process the message in the order manner basically, in the sequential way basically, right? And FIPO queue is always slow as compared to the standard queue basically. Definitely, like, FIPO queue processing is bit slow. Like if the earlier message got failed basically, right, the other message will get stuck, right? So that's the issue with the FIPO queue. And we already seen the reliability pattern, like you can make use of egg and neck to enable reliability pattern, no message loss, zero message loss, we have seen, right? So you can make use of dead letter queue. Then computing queue consumer pattern. So basically, let's consider if there are 2 queues or 2 subscriber listening to same queue. In such case, what will happen? So any one of the queue will pick that message like randomly, but both will never pick that. Okay. We already talk about the publish subscribe model. So basically, Anypoint MQ is kind of broker. So where you can just publish the message, and like you can have a subscriber which can subscribe the message basically, right? Okay. So we talk about the intelligent routing also, right? So we have seen a lot of things. Now the last thing I have to showcase you, somebody asked me question like how the non-MuleSoft application can integrate it with Anypoint MQ. The simple answer is Anypoint MQ platform API. You can make use of that, right? So we have an Anypoint MQ platform API. Let me give it to you. Let me show you. I want, yeah. So you have a 3 kind of API: Anypoint MQ admin API, Anypoint MQ broker API, and Anypoint MQ states API. So in broker API, you have some message like you have to just generate the token, send the message with routing property, and retrieve the message. Let me show the demo on that if I have it. So I have some kind of like, first we have to generate the token. So for generating, before that I have to show like from where you can get the endpoint. So here you have all the endpoints, like you can get it from here basically, right? So let me show you. We will going to use one of this message, like one of this particular URL, right? So where you have to just pass MQ, you have to region ID. So you can get the region ID from in which region you have an endpoint MQ. Then organization ID, you required it. Then you require the environment ID. How can you find those things? So it's very simple. You can go to your API manager, or even you can find it or find out from the access management also. So here information, this is your environment ID. I want sandbox, right? And this is your business group ID, right? In my case, I have already copied it, I think. Yeah, see it, right? It's C. Yeah. And environment ID is 7 something. Yeah, that is true. Okay. So now first thing, I have to get an access token. For getting the access token, what I have to do, I have to go back to my MQ. Client apps, demo apps. Let me copy this. Let me go to Postman. I just replace this client ID and client secret. Control V, copy this. Okay, and just run type equals to client credentials. And here you got the access token. I will copy this access token and I will send a message under authorization, right? Under headers, you can send the authorization and bearer token. Control V, right? And if you see the body, I'm just passing this JSON body and I'm just passing this organization ID and environment ID. And destination, I have a test queue, and which queue I have it, I will just change it to demo queue. You have to just pass the demo queue. Even if you want to pass any message ID, you can do that. You can ignore it also, right? But I'm passing it 573, or like you can pass any random number, right? Okay. So now I will just send it. Yeah, I got a successful response. It's created. Let me go to demo queue. I have to purge it first, otherwise I will get confused. Send it. So let me check. See, I can see one message here, right? This is the payload, right? Even you can pass whatever properties, whatever you have to do, that you can pass it from here. Yeah. Now I will try to read the same message. So in retry, like no, you can go to your queues here. So you have a get method here, right? So in get method, you can like what you can pass region ID, organization ID, environment ID. You have to pass this destination ID. So I have already set up everything. I just want to pass a demo queue. Like destination is my demo queue. You can also select like locking TTL, like So basically, for how long the message will get locked. Can you please go unmute if somebody is on mute, Okay, so you can pass the lock detail up to how many minutes you have to just log this particular message. Like you can define the batch size, like how many messages you have to read in the one batch. That is one of the advantage of this particular REST API, where you can read the batch of the message. Maximum you can read the 10 messages in the single array, basically, not more than that polling time. I just have to copy my token also, which I've generated. Let me send it. No content. Why? Let me stop the application. Somebody will read it. Okay, I have done one mistake. I think it's a demo queue only, right? Let me send it. Yeah, I got one message, right? But if you see the problem here, like I think the message will still will be in flight, I think, right? Because we haven't sent the response. For that, we have to copy this log ID and we have to send the delete message also. And definitely token will be required. Okay, yeah, I have just to pass the destination to demo queue. Yeah, now this message should be deleted. Let me go. You will see one only, right? The one message which is in flight, which is deleted. Yeah. So that is how you can integrate a non-MuleSoft application with an Anypoint MQ broker. Basically, you can make use of like exchange, anything. Like you can send the properties, headers, and everything. Yeah. Any question? See, a circuit breaker pattern, when you have a, like, mostly like you are aware, like you have some legacy backend, right? which keep on going down, like after certain interval of the time. In such cases, like you can definitely go with a circuit breaker pattern. Like like you may have a lot of maintenance, you may have a lot of downtime for your backend system. In such cases, you can go with a circuit breaker pattern. Even you can make use of dead letter queue with a circuit breaker pattern, basically, right? In case like during like it coming from open to half open, right? In that cases, there might be chances while it processing the message, it may lose one of the messages, right? So you can have a dead letter queue in like dead letter queue assigned to that particular queue. If something got failed, while circuit breaker pattern also, it can go to dead letter queue, right? So dead letter queue is basically, it's kind of like if you don't want to lose a single message, right? Yeah, like during the failure, right? You can utilize the dead letter queue. Yeah. Okay, I think I have covered, I think, everything. What are the things we can do with Anypoint MQ? I hope you like this session. Yeah. If you have any specific question, you can ask me. I will try to, clear those doubt.
Hey Jitin,
Yeah, who is this?
Prashant. So I
Yeah.
have a question about the circuit breaker. So let's say if we are using this TLQ and if any of those messages fail, they should directly go to the DLQ, right? Like they should not be there in the main queue. So I'm talking about the behavior of the active MQ in the circuit breaker in the half open state where it is trying to pick up one of the messages from a queue and it is trying to process it.
See, I will tell you, Prashant, what happened. Like, let consider, like, when we are moving from close to half open, right? During time, there might be chances the message get failed, right? In that state, the the state will not move to the closed state. It will again back to the open state, right? Correct. So during that, in any point MQ, if you see, there is something called like acknowledgement mode. If you have selected the auto mode, right, the message will never lost, right? Or if you have selected the manual acknowledgement, if you are sending the neck during the failure, the message will never lost. Basically, it will stay in the main queue in flight state, basically, right? Correct,
Yep.
Prashant?
Yep.
Correct. But in case like I'm just talking on like if you have defined the routing, if you have defined some kind of acknowledgement mode as an immediate, right? In such cases, like you may have to use the dead letter queue, basically, right? In the case of immediate, basically the message got failed in immediate. So immediate is the good, I think, good option where you can make use of dead letter queue. I think in immediate you cannot use the dead letter queue itself, basically, because I will tell you, as soon as like for immediate, it simply send always successful response, doesn't matter whether message got failed or success, right? So in immediate, you cannot use the dead letter queue as per me, basically. I've never tried it, but I'm 100% sure you cannot use the dead letter queue for the immediate acknowledgement mode.
Okay.
So Jitendra, just to add what you are saying,
Yeah.
so the circuit breaker, when you are using circuit breaker, then basically you are saving your resources as well. So it's not continuously polling or going to reaching to that server which is not responding. So circuit breaker basically will save your resources in that
Yeah,
case.
that is one of the good answer, Rajiv. Thanks for that. Yeah, I think, yeah, you are right. Basically, the mostly like you are saving lot of your resources. Basically, you are right, Rajiv. Thanks for that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
Yeah. Okay, I think we don't have a queues. Sorry for that. Now our queues has been stopped, basically. But I try to give a like whatever information I have related to Anypoint MQ, and can we use Anypoint combined with external systems? Definitely, like as I shown you, like you can make use of this REST API, right? So basically, like like if somebody want to only use the Anypoint MQ, right? So you can make for non-MuleSoft application, you can definitely make use of REST APIs to integrate with your Anypoint MQ. Yeah, Vamsi, you are right. Subscriber will definitely pick the same message, basically, which is the in flight. In such cases, in such cases, if you see, there will be only one messages in flight basically, Vamsi. Have you noticed that? Like there are 10 messages in the queue, but in flight it always remain one in case of circuit breaker pattern. So it will try to process same message. Okay. See, Prasad, for REST API, we have a policy. If you see GitHub, MuleSoft have a catalyst, MuleSoft catalyst in GitHub. We have a circuit breaker pattern policy, which you can just install in your API manager or in your Anypoint exchange basically, and you can use for your REST API also. But for now, like if you see the connector, I think this is only available with Anypoint MQ connector. But for REST API, you can definitely download the policy from MuleSoft Catalyst, and you can just deploy to your Anypoint exchange. Once you deploy to your Anypoint exchange, it will be visible in your API manager basically. Yeah. Okay, I think we are good.
Hello.
So yeah.
Jitan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's your name?
Yeah, right. Chandrasekhar.
Yeah, hi Chandrasekhar.
Yeah, actually, so I joined late, so I missed the concept, FIFO concept. So I have one question in a FIFO, like, so as per that MuleSoft docs, whenever we are using that FIFO, I mean, subscribing the FIFO queues, we need to maintain like a concurrency as a one, right? So that the actual FIFO queue will functionality work. I mean, if you are maintaining like a multiple concurrency, so it will pick all the messages and it will process again. It will behave like a normal queue. So for avoiding that, what is there any solution to speed up that FIFO queue processing? I mean, suppose the same message is having in a two times. I mean, I published
Yeah,
two times.
yeah, you can. Let me check. Just give me a second. I create a FIFO queue. Okay.
Mhm.
So test queue, and you can assign dead letter queue to the FIFO. You cannot do that, right? Just let me do that. Create queue. Okay. Where is my FIFO queue? I've just created test queue. You can assign the dead letter queue basically, right? So for dead letter queue again, you have to create, I think, a FIFO DLQ. Create queue. Okay, let me check. I've never tried this, so I can see on. Yeah, you can see. You can assign dead letter queue. No, not this one. This is wrong. Test queue. So you can assign dead letter queue, right? So your message will be like, if it's failed for two times, right? So like what happens, something people like, it processes the message in sequential. Like if one process keep failing, right, it will not pick the second messages. So what you can do, after two or three failure, you can move to dead letter queue, so it can process the other messages.
No, my question is how many messages in case of FIFO queue subscription? So do I need to maintain the concurrency as a one or multiple?
So do you have this setting? I don't think there is such setting for concurrency here. I don't. No, I
Prefetch,
don't think.
prefetch and flow concurrency.
This is the max local message where you are talking.
Flow wise. So we have
Yes,
the
yes, yes. You are right. Like you have to keep it one here basically. Right. Otherwise, what will happen? It will not pick the message in sequential. That is happening. You are right.
yeah, but so it will give the delay, right? If you have that so many messages are piled up in a queue, so it will take more time. So how can I speed up this process?
So like FIFO is all about like processing a message in the sequential way, right? So if one message is taking a lot of time, like the second will get stuck, right? We don't have
Mhm.
any other solution for that. FIFO means it has to process the message in order. The earlier message is not processed successfully. The other message will wait in the queue itself, basically.
So what I'm trying to say is there any for two identical
See,
messages we can keep it in a queue and if it is a different message we can process parallelly. Is there any
no,
such
I
kind of
I, I don't think any such functionality available.
yeah Okay.
Only the way like you can assign the dead letter queue. If some message is failing for 3 times, right? You can send it to dead letter queue and give a way to other message to get processed.
Okay. I mean, it's not about that failing and also, I mean, if the
No, no.
inbound traffic is high for the FIFO queue,
Yeah, I
so
got your point. I got your point. But it's FIPO queue means like it will do the processing in the sequential or the order way, right? In order manner, basically, right? So that is the logic behind the FIPO queue only. If something got failed, like it will not process the it will not process the message other messages which is still in the queue, basically.
Mhm. Yeah, one more question in AMQ REST APIs. So we can publish through subscribe, I mean, post message, I mean, through REST APIs. Is there any way to give the notification, or is there any way to get the notification whenever we can publish that message?
No, not out of the box. There is a no out of the box capability.
Okay. I mean, we need to keep on schedule that particular queue and get the messages, right?
Correct. There's a no out of box capability available.
Okay.
So
Okay.
is that true that when you're dealing with FIFO queues, you cannot deploy your applications on, you cannot deploy your API on multiple workers? Because if you're trying to like consume those messages concurrently, here we don't have that concept of only primary node, like how we
Yeah,
can.
you no no like I think you can definitely deploy. I've never tried that, but I think you can definitely deploy it. But like MuleSoft will take care like automatically so where like only one of the queue will be picking the message. Like queue itself have a property, right? The same message will be not picked by the multiple listener. It will be picked by only one listener.
Yeah, Jitendra, it will be picked by one of the workers, but how about like let's consider a case where the second worker picks the message, like it picks the message for the second time, but it processes it first, even before the first worker is done doing its work.
I don't think it will happen. Like, have you tried this, Prashant? I don't think it will happen.
Yeah, I think, as per my knowledge, Prashant, so it will work in a Cloud Hub environment. I mean, by default, their MuleSoft is handling that scenario. So when come to
Correct.
the on-prem time, so if you have the multiple nodes, it should be run it in a cluster mode. So then only that communication between the two nodes will share, and they can decide which needs to be picked. So
Okay.
something like, yeah,
It,
that we
yeah,
need to
it,
do.
it it taken care by MuleSoft, basically, so like if we have a two workers, right? So every like initially like it will be everything will be processed by one worker. In case one worker goes down, then the second will be take care, so this happens automatically, like, Prashant. If you see, you can check it, and I will also check from my end, and I will let you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Jitendra, what my take is, so worker number of workers will not matter here, because unless the first message is processed and acknowledged, the second message won't go out to
Yeah,
anyone.
that is what I am also thinking, right?
Yeah.
So like, if that is
So
my
number of
thinking,
workers
like,
will not matter here.
correct. But I think Prashant has a valid question, basically. Like,
Mm.
I will check. I need to check on that because I never come across this such scenario. But like, I'm 100% sure, like what Rajiv answered it, that is the correct one. Okay.
And
Yeah.
another thing is like the question was asked, like, you know, uh, what was the first question asked by somebody? Uh,
Yeah,
Chandra.
yeah, yeah.
What was the first question? I just forgot.
Yeah, actually, FIFO. So when in case of the inbound messages are piled up in the queue, so how can
Yeah.
we
So
speed up the
okay,
process?
so if you have different type of messages, then you should maintain two queues. One is FIFO, another is the regular one.
Mhm.
So the messages, which are dependent on the chronological order, those should go into FIFO, and the rest one should go to the other queue, and then you can process, parallelly.
Yeah, that. But Chandra was thinking, like, see, Chandra, like, or like the logic behind using the FIFO, like we can process the message in the order way, right? Otherwise, we can use the simple queue where order doesn't matter, basically, right?
Right.
No,
Mostly,
actually,
like I felt it.
I will take one scenario. Like suppose I created one order, so I got that message for that particular order. So if suppose immediately I received within milliseconds of time gap, I received the same order with the latest update. So if you are not using that FIFO queue, definitely the first message will go, the
Yeah,
second message will go first and process it, and it update the wrong status. That is the scenario. I mean, that understand. I mean,
yeah,
my
you are
question is,
right. And simple.
yeah, in case
Yeah,
so I'm using the FIFO queue. So, but what if I'm getting that multiple orders at a time? So, but order is, I mean, one after other it's coming. But can we do that sequential on the content mesh? I mean, for one message, we should read sequential wise. So if it is a other message which is not with the same order type, we can pick that message and process it parallelly.
yeah.
No, I
In
don't think you
such
can
case,
do that way.
Yeah,
So
I
that
think we
cannot be
need to.
addressed.
Yeah, I think we need to add it in a like a normal queue, and we can in the implementation add component filter kind of thing. We need to
Yes,
make it
yes.
up.
Right.
right. Okay, I think so. I
So
think we
lot
can
of
close the session. It's late for a lot of people.
yeah, yeah.